Welcome to Quick Theological Thoughts. I'm Howard Fisher, and in this podcast, this episode, I want to interact with Pete Buttigieg, and I'm sure I butchered the last name, but anyway, I got a friend that has sent me this video clip of an, looks like one of those town hall meetings, and the question of abortion comes up. And for some reason, I got a friend that has sent me this a couple of times, and he thinks this is just a great video clip. He's so right, and I'm like, all he did was state that he's right. I mean, I'm right because I'm right. It's a strange clip because it doesn't really say anything. It's one of those deals where if you're trying to persuade the other side, then you should present arguments to the other side that have substance, right? And so what I want to do is interact with this video clip, and let's run through it real quick, and then we'll interact with it. So here we go.
Just to be clear, you're saying that you would be okay with a woman well into the third trimester deciding to abort her pregnancy?
Look, these hypotheticals are usually set up in order to provoke a strong emotional...
In fairness, sir, it's not hypothetical. There's 6,000 women a year who get abortions in the third trimester.
That's right, representing less than 1% of cases.
I know, but 6,000 pregnancies.
Let's take ourselves in... Yeah. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a woman in that situation. If it's that late in your pregnancy, that means almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term. We're talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then get the most devastating medical news of their lifetime, something about the health or the life of the mother that forces them to make an impossible, unthinkable choice. And the bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance, they may seek medical guidance, but that decision's not going to be made any better, medically or morally, because the government is dictating how that decision should be made.
All right, so let's just interact with this. I wanted to play the whole clip so you get the flow of it. He's a good speaker, this all sounds good, but I got to be honest. What about any of that is so persuasive for people? How is this convincing to a rational mind? He didn't say anything. This was just empty words. He appealed to the emotions. Let's just go step by step here, because this kind of thing, it's red meat for your followers, but it doesn't say anything to the other side. If you're trying to win the other side, if I want to persuade you to agree with me, I can't just throw red meat to my side and then expect you to agree with me, right? If I'm trying to persuade you, a person who disagrees with me, then I should try to persuade you, a person who disagrees with me. So why this friend of mine just keeps sending me this actually sent me this clip at least twice. I think he sent it to me 3 times maybe, but why do people think this is persuasive? I don't know, but let's go into it here.
Just to be clear, you're saying that you would be okay with a woman well into the third trimester deciding to abort her pregnancy?
Okay, so the question seems to be, and I didn't hear the whole thing, but I'm sure what Pete's position is that he's for abortion for the whole 9 months, which, okay, I would say at least he's being consistent there. I mean, he's being consistent, right?
Look, these hypotheticals are usually set up in order to provoke a strong emotional...
In fairness, sir,
all right, so
it's not...
Wait a second here. The pro-choice side appeals to rape and incest all the time. So he just used an argument that when the pro-life responds, we would be seen as mean. But he just used the same form of argumentation that he would denounce from the other side. I found that kind of interesting. That it's just a small percentage. It's only 1% of abortions. Okay, fair enough. But that's because we're splitting up first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and from the pro-life side, to me, it's 1% of all abortions, and they're all the same. Doesn't matter if it's first, second, or third. It's all the same. So that is just a distinction without a difference.
Hypothetical. There's 6,000 women a year who get abortions in the third.
That's right, representing less than 1% of cases.
I know,
but
but
let's take our...
What difference does that make? I just don't get it. I don't know what that... We're not talking about rape abortions versus, what? What are we talking about here? He's gonna try to get into it, maybe?
Pregnancy.
Let's take ourselves in.
All right, let's take ourselves in.
Yeah. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a woman in that situation.
All right, so now we're to put ourselves in the shoes of a woman in that position. All right. Empathy or sympathy? Okay. We're not making a distinction here, are we? Okay.
Situation. If it's that late in your pregnancy, that means almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term.
Is that what's happening? What is he saying here? See, this is just air at this point. Well, are we saying that this is what? And he's going to say it.
Talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then get the most devastating medical news of their lifetime, something about the health or the life of the mother that forces them to make an impossible, unthinkable choice. And
all right, so what are we talking about? This is just vague nonsense, right? Are we talking about... You got to remember, back in Roe v. Wade and the following decisions, the health of the mother meant literally anything, right? So if I got my car broke down and I became economically devastated because I had to buy a new car, that affected my health. I should be able to get an abortion, right? If I lost my job at work, or my boss is mean to me and my mental health is struggling. Mental health. What are we talking about here? People that have bought a crib, naming the baby, picking up what that doesn't address the issue. If we're talking about a medical problem where the life of the mother is truly at peril, that's not the same thing as an elective abortion or an abortion based upon, I lost my job this week. Okay? So it doesn't answer any of these things.
Bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance. They may...
Spiritual guidance for what?
Seek medical guidance, but it's that...
Medical guidance for what? So this is all vagary. I can't send my child to the dentist. I have to be there. I have to sign stuff, right? So we're not just talking vague stuff here, or with my own kids, but here all of a sudden we're just throwing out, this. What are we talking about?
Decision's not going to be made any better, medically or morally, because the
decisions aren't going to be made any better or morally. So far, we haven't heard a moral case about anything.
The government is dictating how that decision should be made.
And that's the statement, the government is dictating how this decision should be made. As it makes the government, which he represents, this thing that's just arbitrarily saying you have to do this. We don't think like that when we're arguing about slavery. The vague government shouldn't be allowed to. We have policies because we ground them in things, right? So this was all, when he talks about the whole thing of this is an emotional problem. This is the most difficult decision of their lives, Why? Difficult for what reason? So we have to ask the question, why is it difficult? I want to know. Why is abortion a difficult question? Why is a woman struggle with the decision of an abortion? Why? The answer really is Genesis 1 and 2, or it's not. Either Genesis 1 and 2 are true, and therefore abortion is wrong. Abortion is elective abortion would be murder. If he's talking about saving the life of mom because the baby has died, right? So we have the abortion, right? Are we talking about that? Or what are we talking about? If we're talking about elective abortion, where mom's not dying, she just doesn't want the baby for numerous reasons, but medically necessary. Well, again, we're going into these vagaries, right? Why? When we kill a child in the womb, elective abortion, when we go in and we rip it limb from limb, and then we pull out all its body parts, or in the third trimester, if we're doing partial birth abortion, we feet first, pull up most of the way out till the head comes out, then we stick a tool in and we suck the brains out, crush the skull, and pull the rest of the baby out. Is that okay? If not, why not? Whether it's that or it's in the first trimester, we have to ask, what is it? What are we doing? On an elective abortion, what are we doing? Right? What is it? That's the question. What is it? Is it a glob of cells? What is it? It's a baby. If we all agree that it's a baby, then we have to ask, why is it wrong? Or why, if we're going to say it's a tough decision, but why? Why is it a tough decision? Because we all know, because we're made in the image of God, that God is a created order, Genesis 1 and 2. God created mankind, male and female. They're to come together, make families, reproduce image bearers, to go and fill the earth, exercising dominion. Based upon the positive statements of Genesis 1 and 2, the only reason why it's wrong to kill children, whether they're in the womb or not, electively, right? Whether in the womb or not, is because they're made in the image of God. Period. Murder is wrong for one reason only. One reason only. One reason only. Because we are made in the image of God. That's it. Period. End of argumentation. Either we are image bearers from conception, or we're not. Either God has created the created order so that a man and a woman come together and that in time produce a family, that the woman is the one who bears the child. That is the normal means by which life comes about. That's how God created it to work. And what we're doing is we're suppressing that knowledge of God. We're suppressing that image-bearing part of us when we murder a child. We are doing exactly what I just said. In an elective abortion, we are committing murder. You don't have to agree with that, but then you have to dehumanize yourself. Right? I've often been accused as a Christian, we're dehumanizing people. No, it's the other way around. Right? If we say the baby is not a baby, then we're dehumanizing. That's where we're dehumanizing people. Pete Buttigieg never would say what it is we're actually doing. Right? So when he talks about the state, well, so what is the role of the state? What is the state's job? Why does God establish governments? Well, we have individual governments, right? That's me. I am to govern myself. God has established me as an image bearer to learn how to restrain my evil passions in this present evil age. And he does that through the family. So I have a father and mother, and they are my parents were supposed to teach me right from wrong so that I would learn to be able to govern myself. Well, so in that formative stage, I have a government, my parents, right? Fifth commandment, honor your father and mother. So my parents, the family, was the first original government alongside the individual of Adam himself, right? So Adam was to restrain himself, and then when he has a family, he is to govern his family. So the first government really is, if the institution would be the family, and then we have the church. Obviously, we have church governments, and we have the state government. And the state in the Bible, the Bible tells us what the role of the state is to curb evil. Right? Is murder evil or not? Is murder something that God empowers the state to restrain? Right? If someone commits murder, is it the state's duty and responsibility to do something about that? Is it within its authority to do something about that? What kind of authority does it have? How is it to exercise that authority? The Scripture gives us that information. Our laws, in the past anyway, were used to be governed by the scriptural foundations that give the state, that explain what the role of the state is. So this is, Pete Buttigieg just made it this arbitrary thing. It's the state doesn't know what it's doing. It's up to the individual. Up to the individual to do what? Eat spaghetti? Choose what it's going to have for dinner? Obviously, the role of the state doesn't tell me how I'm going to eat food. What the role of the state is to determine whether I have spaghetti and meatballs versus fish or steak or what have you. And we're not. What are we talking about? Right? This is not even addressed. So why videos like this are convincing to my leftist friends, I don't know. I don't get it. We need to do better, right? We as pro-lifers are at fault, and partially at fault, because we also accept the framework of this kind of thinking, of this kind of debate, of this kind of discussion, of this kind of questions, of this kind of town hall meeting. Town hall meetings were supposed to be so much better. This is why I think podcasts, like Joe Rogan, where Pete Buttigieg were actually in Joe Rogan's show, you can't do sound bites like this, right? You actually have to have a discussion, and you're going to be on there for an hour, so get ready to get pressed. And there's no editing. We're just live streaming, having a discussion. People can tell when you're just up there grandstanding. This is just up there grandstanding. Okay? What is it are we talking about? What is the actual issue? What is the foundation for what our role is, what the role of the state is in questions like this? What is it we're dealing with? If we're not going to answer those kinds of questions, then we're just wasting our time. And this video is a waste of time. And if you were convinced by this video at first, I don't know what else to tell you. You were already a pro-choicer, and you're grounded in thin air, and you actually think that this kind of argument is persuasive. I want to know the core. I want to know all the way down what is actually being said. And why. I want to know the why. And this guy doesn't offer any whys whatsoever. It's air. It's meaningless. It's a word vomit. It's just nothing. Anyway, I shouldn't hold back. I should express what I really think. It's when it comes to abortion, elective abortions. I understand abortions happen. They happen quite naturally. There are some abortions that happen because Mom is actually going to die. I have relatives who have experienced that. So I'm not talking about saving mom, right? I'm talking about elective abortions, which is what I think the question was trying to ask, but but he asked it in a framework of trimester, third trimester. How about what is an abortion? What is it? We're not going to get the answers because they're dishonest. They're suppressing the truth of God. They're suppressing the knowledge of God in order to go after and follow their gods, their idolatry. This is all idolatrous. Anyway, God bless. Be good.